postseason will be here before we know it. But first, a few more weeks of astounding touchdowns and feeling that win when the final horn sounds. Why would we want to wish that away? Instead, we'll start to piece the playoff puzzle together with Week 5, and that's up next on Gridiron Glory. Welcome, Gridiron fans, to yet another rendition of our show. I'm your host, Blake Baker. Tonight we're bringing you a unique episode. Not necessarily the content. We still have a strong slate of games that we can't skip over. But it seems a little emptier in here, doesn't it? My sidekick isn't in Studio A with me. He's too busy taking his part of the show to the home of the powerhouse Pirates. Co-host Noah Wolf joins a group of our reporters at Wheelersburg High School, and the Apple Bowl trophy resides with the defending champs in Division 5. They hope to keep it from rival Jackson for at least another year. Now, Noah, I'm jealous, man. I'm jealous you got to soak in that unbelievable atmosphere of Ed Miller Stadium.
Yeah, you're right. It was unbelievable. It was absolutely electric. But don't get too ahead of ourselves. We'll have that action from tonight's game a little bit later in our show. Right now, we have a special treat. I'm joined by Wheelersburg head coach Rod Woodward. He's in his 11th year as the head coach of the Pirates. He's also a science teacher at Wheelersburg. He brought the Pirates and Southeastern Ohio their first state title since 1989, excuse me. Rob, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So the first things first, congrats on that state title win. It was a big one for sure. What does it mean to the community to finally bring that hardware back to the Burg?
Oh, it's been something we've been working on. Coaching staff, players. Body. It's something that every year we set out a goal. Fast. And all the sayings, things that we've got to focus on. Get our players' minds right, ready to go. All together, so it's outstanding.
So looking back at state title game, take me back to that play call on 4th and 1 in overtime. What play did you call and why'd you do it?
Well, we had 4th down. We sent the kicking unit out, and we talked on it as a staff over the headsets, and we were kind of contemplating, hey, got a chance here. Let's take a timeout, make sure this. We agree that's what we're going to do tonight. Side caught a glimpse of the play clock, so that called timeout and talked about it, and we have had practice all season for just such a situation, I guess you could say. And our little fat right shield Tebow, Tom Caskey, our offense coordinator, does a great job of designing our plays, practicing our plays, and making sure our guys are ready to execute. The guys went out and executed, a perfect play at a perfect time. And state championship, Xander Carmichael to Tanner Holden, jump pass. Line did a great job protecting. We actually had 2 players open on that play. He could have thrown it to either one, but it was definitely something that go down in history.
So, Coach, Ed Miller is a crucial part of Wheelersburg history, the head coach who brought the Pirates their first state title. How did he establish that winning tradition, and what does his setup do for what you carry forward today?
Ed really brought a winning tradition with him here to Wheelersburg. He was able to rally the people and guide them all that winning program. He established toughness. He established discipline football. It's something that continues to grow and develop. And I actually joined the Wheelersburg community back 16 years ago as an assistant for 5 years, and then was able to get a head coaching job there 11 years ago. 11 years ago now, 10 at the time, and work to develop that.
Well, thank you, Coach. We apologize for the technical difficulties, but Coach, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Back to Blake in the studio.
Yes, thank you very much, both of you. We know how much football means out there to Wheelersburg, and Coach Woodward certainly has a lot to do with that. Thank you. And we are really active on Twitter these days, really because there's just so much going on at this point in the season. We started up our power rankings, and now we're gearing up for the playoffs. But we could use some help from you as well. If you're at a game we don't see on Friday night, update us. Tweet directly at Gridiron Glory or use the hashtag GG20. And don't forget to send in your potential tweets of the week each Friday night. You could very well end up on next week's episode. The first matchup in our coverage area tonight is also our first matchup on the show. TVC Ohio reporter Thomas Garverick went to Wellston tonight, and it was significantly earlier than expected.
Yeah, and Blake, you don't see this too often. A 6 p.m. kickoff. With predicted bad weather, Alexander and Wellston made arrangements to have football played a bit earlier tonight. RJ Kemp, Wellston head coach Jay Lucas, they're ready to take on the Spartans, but they weren't ready for this. Connor Kimbrough takes the opening kickoff, 83 yards for 6. Spartans up 7-0 early on. The Golden Rockets, they will bounce back. Look at this right here. Rolls out in the flat, and there goes Jonathan Garvin. He's going to sneak in the pylon for 6, 13-7 Golden Rockets. And then the Spartan defense just out of sorts. Nick Davis going to the right sideline. 49 yards is going to go. That wishbone offense starting to really flex his muscle, Blake. That play stalls, but look at this defense. Ryan Mahalan, he's going to sack easily. And the Spartans, they have to punt. And then later on, look at this Mahalan on offense. He's going to hurdle this guy, juke a defender, and he's going to get in for 6. 2-point try is good, 21-7 Wellston. And look at this. How about this right here? Davis. He's going to get hit at the 10, and look at this push. His guys are going to push him inside the 5, and then he's going to put the exclamation point on the drive, 29-7 Wellston, and then right before the half, easily, desperation heave. RJ Kemp climbs up the ladder to make the catch. I think we're going to be seeing that one later on in the show. Golden Rockets, they roll 49-7.
So a little bit unexpected performance from that Wellston offense, but it was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, and I mean, especially through the air, for a team that relies so heavily on the run, the Golden Rockets had a nice balance tonight, Blake. Here's a stat that's going to blow your mind. Through 4 games, Wellston, 6 of 28 passing, not even 2 completions a game.
And yet RJ Kemp looked like a seasoned vet out there.
Oh, he was absolutely fantastic in this one. In the first half alone, he matched his season high of 6 completions. He was nearly perfect, 6 of 7, extremely efficient.
Very efficient, wow. Sounds like the Spartans expected the Golden Rockets to keep it on the ground.
Yes, the beauty of the wishbone. When you run the ball as effectively as Wellston does, Blake, that opens up big plays down the field.
Well, if you're talking about big plays, the Spartans opened the game with that kickoff return touchdown, but they struggled after that.
Yeah, and you know, it just kind of seemed like the Spartans limited themselves with conservative play calling early on. A lot of QB options that Wellston was able to pick up on.
Well, at some point, the Spartans just had to take some shots.
Right, but the Wellston defensive line just got after it all night long. 3 sacks and a lot of pressure on Easley. He never really had a clean pocket during this game at all.
Yeah, certainly needs those guys up front to help him out.
Yeah, and you know, you talk about the guys up front, but how about the guys on the outside too, Blake? Only Kimbrough and Michael Kelly touched the ball for the Spartans tonight. They need to get other guys involved.
He could have used some of those guys on the Wellston side. Nice win for the Golden Rockets nonetheless, though. Good having you on, Tommy. Thank you. Switching things up, we're headed to the TVC Hawking for the next bit of coverage. Hockey reporter T. Willis traveled to Reedsville, where host Eastern wanted to avoid a 10th straight loss, T.
Blake, both of these squads have struggled early on in the first 4 games of the season. The Rebels came in 1-3 with their first win coming against Federal Hawking, and the 0-4 Eastern Eagles were clearly seeking to obtain their first victory and get some momentum going into season play. And here we go. The Eastern Eagles carrying American flags. These boys were definitely ready for war. Eastern's first drive of the game, it's a fumble. South Gallia's Jeffrey Sheets tries to scoop it up. He misses, but Gavin Bevan says, "I got this," and he dives on the ball. South Gallia with the ball. Jacob Bircher gets the handoff, and he turns nothing into something, shutting off Eastern defenders. He gets a burst of speed and sees nothing but daylight as he gets into the end zone. The Rebels get on the board with 3:53 left in the first quarter. Eastern back on offense. Connor Riddenauer back in the shotgun. He zips a pass across the middle and finds senior Dylan Creeth for a big gain to put the Eagles within scoring distance. Next play, under 10 seconds left in the first quarter. Riddenauer with an easy toss to Steve Fitzgerald for the easy touchdown. Eagles missed the field goal, so it's 6-7. Gallia still up. And the Eagles had an answer as Riddenauer connects with Facemeyer on a flat slant for the score. After a Fitzgerald 2-point conversion, the Eagles lead for the first time in the game. But on the next drive, Bircher shows that he's got running ability, once again weaving in and out of Eagles defenders as he gets tackled by Nick Little. South Gallia, however, can't make it to the end zone on that possession, and they have one more shot going down the field, but Tristan Saber tries to throw a heave, but Isaiah Fish disrupts the pass, bobbles the ball a bit, ultimately comes up with the interception. The score stays the same in the second half, 14-13, and the Eagles get their first win on the season.
Impressive win, one they truly needed. Who stepped up for them big time tonight?
For the Eagles, Steve Fitzgerald had a tremendous game. He's got great size, and he's a dual threat on offense. He can run and make big catches. He was able to make a big difference for this team.
What about the defense? Did they have any role in this win here tonight?
Well, Blake, the defense was able to hold South Gallia to 13 points. They capitalized off some big mistakes by the Rebels. The front seven pressured Gallia all night long and didn't allow the Rebels to get into any rhythm in their offense. Whether it was jumping routes or making big open field tackles, this defense was not going to let them win. And the Eagles secondary played a big role on defense as well.
Thanks a lot for attending this one for us tonight, T. Much needed win for Eastern. Thanks for making the trip out to Reedsville.
Thanks, Blake. Appreciate it.
All our reporters here at Gridiron are very talented. And I'm not talking about just the ones you see on Friday nights. We have a lot going on behind the scenes and during the week. You can give all that a look on our website, woub.org/gridiron. Each game we see on a Friday will have an accompanying preview and recap on the web. So give our reporters some love on the written word. If you went to a game tonight, you probably experienced some wild weather. Taylor Jedrzejek did too. And because of it, he changed up his course of action a little bit for tonight.
Yeah, Blake, we went up to Zanesville to catch West Muskingum take on Sheridan, but we only got to see 25 seconds of gameplay.
That's it?
That was it. Luckily for us, we got to see Sheridan's only scoring drive while we were there. On the opening kickoff, Nick Rinaldi set up the Generals deep in tornado territory with this 68-yard kick return down to the West M 24. There he is, making a couple guys miss, dragging a couple guys. And on the first play of the drive, Ethan Heller finds a wide open Jacob Rhodes on a wheel route for this easy touchdown. But Sheridan decided that 7 points wasn't enough. And on the PAT try, they go for a fake. Rinaldi finds Shea Taylor leaking out of off the line of scrimmage for the 2-point conversion. But that was unfortunately the last play we'd get to see before Mother Nature took its toll on the game and the game would be delayed.
Did they ever get back on the field out there at West End?
They did, but the storms were not a good omen for the Tornadoes. Sheridan came out and just poured the points on just like the rain fell. Yeah,
it didn't really look like West End hung around at all in this one. Last time we checked, might be the final 62-0 in this one. So you didn't get to see that MVL game as much as you would have intended to. Did you get to see anybody else play tonight?
Actually, yeah. On the way home, we heard it was homecoming in the Plains, so we decided to visit the Bulldogs. When we arrived, it was halftime, and Athens was already up 35-7, and newly crowned homecoming king Clay Davis lit up Vinton County, throwing for over 200 yards and 4 touchdowns in the first half alone. The Vikings weren't able to muster much in the first half, stalling out 2 drives in the Athens red zone, but Athens was able to trigger the running clock early in the third quarter with this option pitch to Evan Adams, who makes a guy miss and makes the whole defense miss on the way for a 69-yard score, and he goes untouched. The score was 42-7 then, and Athens went on to win 42-13.
Double dipping for us, man. Gotta love it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Some YouTube stars are making 6 figures off their videos. I'd call us more television stars, but we do know a thing or two about YouTube. That's where all of our video content resides. And if you miss anything from tonight's show, with 2 live segments from Wheelersburg, you know where to find it. Search WOUB PBS into YouTube and locate the Gridiron Glory page. Let's bounce back to the MVL. The Philo Electrics are in the midst of their toughest stretch of the season. The toughest stretch of the season. Tonight they hosted the league-leading Tri-Valley Scotties. And look who's in studio tonight. Nick Orsini went out to this one, very much anticipated.
Yeah, it's a lot cooler in here than I remember, Blake. Nevertheless, humidity played a huge factor in this game, but that was not going to stop the Tri-Valley Scotties from displaying their dominance on the gridiron once again. Head coach Dirk Lincecum was asking for maximum effort tonight against the Scotties. First drive of the game, quarterback Luke Fargus connects with Keaton Williams for 9 yards, but that was it for the Scotties' first drive. Until Aaron Philo tries to scoop up the punt on the bounce, but he coughs it up. The Scotties are going to recover, but they cannot turn that mistake into points, so still 0-0. At first Philo possession, Hunter Adolph. He's going to scramble up the middle for 13 yards, but again, that was it for Philo as they are forced to punt the ball away back to Tri-Valley. Ensuing Scotties possession, Fargus, he rolls out to his right, but he throws it a bit behind Blaze Taylor and it falls incomplete. This was a common theme tonight, as well as the running game was not very effective either. Jordan Panatello with a 5-yard rush, but not good enough for a first down. And finally, they're going to get a spark here. with their special teams. Blaze Taylor fields the punt, makes the first defender miss, and the second, and the third, and he's gone into the end zone. 48 yards on that punt return. 7-0 Scotties. 7 left in the first half. But look at Philo's response. Adolph finds a wide-open Carson Stotsberry, and no one was within 10 yards of him, and he is gone untouched. 78 yards tie game. There was a weather delay, but Tri-Valley goes on to win this one 28-14.
All these weather delays just seem to find us tonight, man. Both teams got to play through it. And this one is a lot different than the outcome we expected coming in.
Yeah, we honestly expected a lot. There was about 85 degrees at this game, and like I said, humidity, it played a huge factor in this game. It's the last day of summer, and this weather made it seem like it's going to stick around for a little bit longer. Players were huffing and puffing on the sideline. Both coaches had to deal with cramping and constant changing of their teams. Blake, it honestly looked a little bit more like a hockey game out there with all those line changes in the first quarter.
It was still scoreless after the first, and it took midway through the second to finally put some points on the scoreboard. Yet the final showed a little bit more offense. What happened?
Well, it really wasn't a pretty half of football. Actually, Philo had 162 yards of offense in the first half, while Tri-Valley just had 40. Of course, the wide-open touchdown reception for Philo racked up the majority of those yards, but it really was an even game for the time that I was there. Philo's D was ready for the challenge. Their offense began running a lot of quick slants and screen passes. They were effective for maybe 1-2 first downs, but not much more than that. They came out in the second half and took the lead with a touchdown, making it 14-7, but the Scotties scored 21 in answer to claim the victory.
Dogs always get it done when they need to, man. What's next for both teams?
So Tri-Valley returns home to face New Lexington, while Philo continues their brutal stretch of games with a trip to Sheridan next week.
Now let me ask you this one. At this point in the season with the stretch coming up, what do you think Philo's chances of winning this league are?
It's really going to be tough for them. I mean, now that they've lost another conference game, they're going to Sheridan. Sheridan's arguably one of the top teams. I've said this before. I really don't want to look too far ahead, but it's only 2 weeks away for that much-anticipated matchup in Dresden. Tri-Valley, Sheridan, that could be the one that decides the champion of the NBL.
Always seems like we're looking ahead in this one. There's just so much action, so many action-packed games to get to. But the Tri-Valley Scotties, man, through 5 weeks, territory they're always in, right at the top of the NBL. Nick, thank you very much. Players, you guys really love Snapchat, man, and we got a few entries this week. Logan Ramft had the best one, and it's another squad pick. Take a look at how the Generals prepare for war. Gotta love that RMA hat, too. Sheridan's always had the right mental attitude this season. Logan, thanks for the snap, boss. And the rest of you, keep flooding us with those snaps. This could be you getting recognition next week. The Chillicothe Cavaliers ranked atop the season's first FAC Power Rankings, and lucky for us, we had a chance to see them close by this week. FAC reporter Connor Mills not only ranked them, but saw them try and defend that top spot tonight.
Blake, Chillicothe visited Logan right in our backyard, but for Chillicothe, nothing was as comfortable. Electricity was in the air, but that was the only thing in the air for both of these teams. Chillicothe opened up the game, but they were forced to punt it to the Chieftains. Logan looked good to start off with the ball as Preston Yates opens this thing up with an 11-yard gain. Braden Spatar, he's going to match that good run with one of his own. 8-yard gain. Logan looking like they will put a good drive together. However, later on in the drive, Spatar, he will be under pressure and sacked by senior Nick Ursulin. The drive comes to a crashing halt. Chillicothe proceeds to go 3 and out. And by that time, a couple plays later, Spatar, he matches up the middle. Good run there for him for 9 yards. Chieftains are poised for a good second quarter. Braden Spatar looks out to... Braden Spatar looked out to pass for Logan. However, that was the first completion. Logan, they lost the football. Some confusion will ensue. It's a fumble. The Cavs, they're coming up with this one. But, however, both teams will still be held scoreless. Unfortunately, we were not there for the most exciting part as 2 touchdowns were scored in overtime, a touchdown from Jaquan Harris and Trevor Horner touchdown. However, Logan, they missed a 2-point conversion as Chillicothe will get this one 7-6.
Doesn't seem like a result that we were all kind of expecting coming in. What made it so close tonight?
No, Blake, it was not close at all. What stood out to me was the defense. As we look at the defense, Logan, they were shutting down the Cavaliers' offense all night long. The cornerbacks were reading Adrian Beverly well, and the defensive line was stopping the running threat of Jaquan Harris and the quarterback keepers. They've been really impressive to stop this high-powered offense of the Cavaliers.
So yeah, definitely some good defense from the Chieftains, exactly what they needed in this one. What else do you think that they provided in this one to affect the game as much?
Well, neither team had any real opportunity to get into a rhythm. Penalties cost both teams, and the biggest factor, I believe, was a 30-minute lightning delay. The break in the action before the end of the first half concluded did no one any favors. Circling back to the penalties, Logan, they had 11 for 85 yards, which really hurt them on their long drives.
Yeah, the penalty yardage hurt their chances, but break down some of the other stats. There seem to be some key ones in there.
Well, going on to paper, Logan, they should have won this game. 286 Chieftain total yards to the Cavaliers' only 107. Logan, they also dominated the time of possession with 30 minutes compared to Chillicothe's 17. But where Chillicothe took control was in the turnover battle, taking the ball away 5 times and not turning it over themselves. In the end, Chillicothe had the grit to get the win.
Now let me ask you this. FAC play starting up next week. What do you like about the Cavs going into conference play?
Well, going into conference play for the Cavs, as we said, they're ranked #1 in the FAC in our power rankings. I think they have the offense. If they can get everything put together, I believe Chillicothe, they can run away with the Frontier Athletic Conference this season.
Some real talented teams, man, but they are the defending champs, the only champs in history. Connor, appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. Something to look forward to. All right, you've seen enough of the studio over the last 20 minutes. It's time for the showdown that took Noah out to Ed Miller Stadium. All of us have been looking forward to this one for a long time.
Yeah, Blake, you mentioned the electric atmosphere here earlier in the show, and that's exactly what it was. Wheelersburg, the defending state Division V champions, were looking to continue their recent dominance against their local rivals, Jackson. But for the Ironmen, well, it was all about revenge. The battle for the Apple Bowl trophy was our game of the week. FAC reporter Will Collins joins me at Ed Miller Stadium for the latest installment of the Apple Bowl.
Noah, the Jackson Ironmen have had this game marked on their calendars all year long after a loss to the Pirates at Alumni Stadium last season.
But don't think that the Pirates were taking this one for granted. They're hungry to get that win.
We take you to the action midway through the first quarter, where it's been a defensive struggle so far. Trent Sailors drops back to pass, but he would get hard and be sacked by Mitchell Johnson for a 6-yard loss here, Noah.
Jackson would have similar troubles getting their offense going. Jared Eisenhower tries to scramble out of the pocket, but he is stuffed and nothing would come of that possession. The next time the Ironmen had the ball, however, Eisenhower would have a bit more success with his legs. Here he scrambles through the tackles and rolls in for the first down. 2 plays later, he drops back to pass, rolls out to his right, fires, and
it's picked off by Tanner Holden. He snatches it out of midair, races up the sideline, cuts across the field, and ladies and gentlemen, he's gone. 66 yards for the pick six, and it's 7-0 Pirates with 9 seconds to play in the second quarter.
Jackson would go 3 and out on the next possession, and the Pirates take full advantage. Salyers airs this one out, and it's caught by Micaiah Matthews perfectly in stride. Missed extra point makes it 13-0 Berg. The two teams would trade scores early in the second half, so it was 20-7 when this play happened.
Sailors takes the snap, fakes the give, and launches it to Tanner Holden. Looks like Reed Evans brings him down here, but that's not what happens, folks. Holden just rolls off of him, and Wheelersburg just keeps rolling. It was 27-7 at that time, and the Pirates win it tonight, 33-14.
Well, in the first quarter, Will, it was exactly what we expected, a defensive struggle of a game.
Absolutely, Noah. Last season, the Pirates rode their defense throughout the entire postseason, never giving up more than 2 touchdowns in a playoff game. It was no surprise that tonight they were up to the task once again. This game was full of hard hits from both sides from the very first snap. Wheelersburg and Jackson both relied on their defenses to get the job done. And after the first quarter, the game remained scoreless. It seemed like every time each team could put a good play together, the opposing defense would put a stop to the rest of the drive.
It was slow going in the first quarter, but Wheelersburg eventually piled on the points. It's like we were seeing a new offense after that.
They relied on their senior quarterback, Trent Salyers, the Pirates' main playmaker. The entire offense really flows through him. He put up 157 yards through the air with 2 touchdowns. Salyers' playmaking ability really showed tonight, where he used his arm to hit his receivers in stride and used his legs to get out of a jam. He turned a scramble into a 49-yard touchdown run and never looked back after that.
Well, we can't forget about Ashton Clevenger, though, who also had a great offensive night for the Pirates.
That's right, Noah. He had 74 rushing yards on 60 carries. When the Pirates needed a boost in their running game, they'd hand the rock to Clevenger, who wasn't afraid to push through piles and pick up needed yards. Micaiah Matthews also contributed to the Pirate offense as a consistent threat out of the backfield in both the passing and running games tonight.
Wheelersburg certainly took care of business tonight. They're now 4-1 and priming themselves for another deep run in the playoffs. Meanwhile, the Jackson Ironmen fall to 3-2 entering FAC play. It's been a fun night in Wheelersburg, but I think that's all we have from here. Blake, back to you and the whole crew in Athens.
Guys, great work. Thank you for taking our show on the road tonight. It looked really good. It looked like a lot of fun. So how many highlights do we see in an episode? 100? More than that? It's normally hard to zero in on just 3 for this part of the show. Tonight it wasn't that hard, and you'll see why with these top plays. Our third best play on the night, out to Athens. The only touchdown we saw in this game, and it was a doozy. Clay Davis takes a snap, low option pitch. Looks like he's done that before. Evan Adams definitely done this one before, racing up the left sideline. And although he crossed all those Vinton County bodies, what do you think, 2 fingers on him? 69 yards. Bye-bye, big fella. Nice touchdown run. Second best play. Tristan Saber, just before the half, he hucks it up. Isaiah Fish, I know your coach is telling you get 2 hands on the ball. I don't think that's quite what they had in mind. Taps this one back to himself in midair. Fly, Eagles, fly the opposite direction. Now our best play on the night, also an interception. Caleb Easley hucks this one deep, a nice touch pass, and RJ Kemp climbs the ladder, just like Tommy said, goes up for this one, full extension. Let's check it out again. Picture perfect. He's just a sophomore, folks. He's a quarterback. He's bursting on the scene, and he's busting out our top play on the evening. This show is really exciting, right? That's how we expect the rest of the season to be. Next up, week 6. Let's see which teams will tango to start the second half of the regular season. Athens takes an explosive offense on the road to a struggling Logan, and the Tornadoes have torn through each town they've played in. South Gallia is next on Stormwatch. Hocking powers collide when Waterford goes to Gloucester for the next game of the week. And the FAC finally shows us some conference games, and we'll have 2 of them, as Courthouse at Jackson and McLean at Miami Trace. Sheridan is on the quest for an MVL crown. You heard about their chances earlier. They got to shut down the Electrics first, also in a real tough stretch of this season. And lastly, the Ceramics, Crooksville. They look to flex a little bit of muscle on a non-conference foe when they visit Warren. Both teams still have yet to gain a first win. Both of them really looking forward to this game next week, and so are we. Now, we are absolutely moving through this season. It does not feel like 6 weeks ago that we were all preparing for this season. Thank you, Wheelersburg, very much for hosting our show tonight. I know those boys that went out there really enjoyed themselves. But that's all we got from studio. Join us next week, same time, same place. Before we roll in some clips, we look forward to next week. Remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.